Good day, mates. This is Marine the Raccoon, and today I will be reading you all Chapter 19 of The Walking Dead Hope, the Walking Dead fanfiction written by Goofy Gomez from Wattpad. Goofy Gomez, thank you very much for giving us permission to read your stories, mate. Now, this is apparently a love story between Louis and Clem from this video game franchise called The Walking Dead. Now, granted, I never played the Walking Dead franchise since I'm from the Soul Dimension, so this is all new to me. I might as well ask Silver and Blaze what this franchise is all about. But anyway, without wasting any more time, let's get reading, mates. You ready for this? Okay, let's go. Didn't expect any company this time of night. Gabe turned to Clementine with a lopsided grin. In his right hand, he held a beer bottle, half its contents gone. She returned the gesture, leaning against the frame of the hallway. He was wearing a large white t-shirt, a pair of blue leggings, and surprisingly fluffy slippers. She eyed them for a moment, a grin on her face. "Nice slippers," she teased, nodding to them. He looked down on them and blushed, looking down. "For your information, they're extremely comfortable," he defended himself, puffing out his chest. Placing a hand beneath her belly, she slowly lowered herself to his level, sitting beside him. Her face was half covered in the shadow, the only light source being the moonlight that seeped faintly through the window to the right. She gave him a slight glance and shrugged. "I know," she agreed, nodding. "Louis has a pair just like that. I've been stealing them from him for years now." At the moment of Louis's name, Gabe's face became hard. He frowned slightly and his grip of the beer bottle tightened. She noticed it but didn't mention anything. As she let her mind wander away, her hands ran over the belly slowly. So close now, she thought. A soft breeze had blown through the open window, and she pulled her oversized shirt closer to her body, shivering slightly. Her thoughts were cut short when she heard Gabe clearing his throat from beside her. She turned to him, an eyebrow raised. "I'm sorry, Clem," he heard him say. "What?" "I'm sorry I was the reason you were kidnapped," he repeated, setting the bottle on the floor next to him. "I spewed that crap about my feelings and you stomped off. Next thing I knew, you were gone." Clem weighed his words carefully, though looking down at the bottle on the floor. She'd had half a mind to let him have it and stay silent. But then something happened. She felt the baby kick moving around her belly as it shifted its position. Smiling, she looked back at Gabe. "Gabe, you couldn't have known that was going to happen," she said. "I was dumb. I got myself cornered. You had nothing to do with that." "Still, I was a jack," he admitted, shrugging defeat. It's just... When I saw you that day 7 months ago, all those stupid teenage feelings came rushing back. Guess I couldn't turn them off so easily." "Well, for what it's worth, thank you for your apology." She placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, receiving a sad smile from the man. They sat there, the silence only broken by the buzzing of crickets outside the window. She thought of Lee in her dream, his wise words swelling in her mind. Sometimes she forgot about how much she missed the man. 14 years had seemingly passed with the blink of an eye, and she wondered if it would feel the same way with her child. Her mom had always talked about how fast she would grow, pinching her cheeks with an affection only a mother could muster, but she never took it seriously. She felt as if she had gotten married yesterday, walking down the makeshift aisle of the courtyard into yet another chapter of her life. Now, 8 months later, she was about to give birth to their child. Their adopted son sleeping soundly in the adjoining room. Gabe cleared his throat once more, and she looked over at him. "I've been meaning to ask," he began, scratching the back of his neck. "What's the deal with Lizzie? I've asked, but she won't give me a straight answer." "She tried to break me and Louis and me up," she said simply. Gabe's eyes opened wide. His cheeks flustered. "And let's just say I'm not as forgiving as my husband." "Well, I can respect that," he said with a nervous chuckle. He stayed silent for a while, searching for words as Clem tried to get the image of Lizzie out of her mind. I still hope we can be friends, though, he added, his eyes downcast. She raised an eyebrow, her mind going to that boy she met 9 years earlier. She would be lying if she said she hadn't had feelings for him back then. He had been the first person her age since she'd been able to interact freely with. She almost liked how he sparked jealousy in her husband every time they were in the same room, let alone holding a conversation. Well, I can do that, she said, extending a hand to him, which he graciously took. Clementine suppressed a yawn for the 3rd time and placed her hands on the floor. She pushed herself off it, groaning with the effort of lifting the extra weight. She excused herself, claiming sleep would take her any minute now. Gabriel got up as well, knocking over the empty beer bottle in the process. Good night, Clem, he said awkwardly, shuffling his feet. She rolled her eyes and leaned in, embracing the man. Her swollen stomach between them made the process rather uncomfortable, and the pair broke up after a few seconds. See you around, she said, turning on her heels and walking back to the room. Gabe stared at her, slightly dejected. A few minutes later, Clem sneakily slipped into bed next to Louis. The moonlight shone on his face like a beacon, accenting his freckled features. She leaned over her elbow, admiring him silently. Over the years, she had attempted to count the freckles on his face, although always losing track when most important thoughts came into her mind. Hopefully, our child will get his freckles, she thought to herself. Leaning in, she placed a soft kiss on his forehead, smiling as the corners of his mouth curled upwards. She lay back on the pillow, placing her left hand on his chest again. A soft thumping of his heart lulled her back to sleep, darkness overtaking her once more. The next morning, Clem, AJ, and Louis stood at the gate, awaiting for Javi. The morning sun was badly over the buildings, bathing the city in the bright orange hue. A few people miled about on the streets, most of them never sparing a second glance for the trio at the gate. Clem was adjusting Louis's backpack as Javi greeted them. Sorry it took so long. Lizzie wanted to go over the defense plan for the month, he apologized, shaking Louis's hand. Louis noticed Clem scoffing at the moment of the head of security, chuckling himself. That's all right, he replied, nodding at the older man. We were just walking ourselves up for the trip. You sure you don't want me to come with? Javi said, his eyes darting to Clementine's swollen belly. She gave him one of her signature glares, and she crossed her arms. It's just a 2-day trip, Javi, she argued, rolling her eyes. I think my baby could handle that. Are you talking about me again? Louis inquired with a smirk. And a punch from Clementine. As he rubbed his shoulder, Javi chuckled and offered Clem a hug. Well, I hope you guys have a safe trip, Javi said. I'll see you in a week. Thanks, Javi, Louis said. The trio said their final goodbyes and walked out of the gate. IJ waved a hand at Javier. They ventured into the wild, their weapons poised at the ready in case of any danger befell them. As it turned out, the only danger that threatened their 2-day trip were a few walkers that strayed too close to them. The following night they arrived at the school. Clem's feet were hurting badly, and her back was about to give out. After the 10th complaint, Louis held her hand and led her closer to the gate, calling out for the others inside. We'll be in bed soon enough, Louis promised his wife, smiling at Violet as the blonde opened the gate and embraced Clementine. What are you guys doing here? She asked, her eyes darting to Louis. Clem wanted to see y'all before the baby came, Louis explained. The group walked inside, Clem leaning on Louis. The courtyard was deserted except for Omar standing by his stove. Taking small sips of his wooden spoon, he gave the trio a wave, receiving one in return. The sun was setting behind the admin building, casting a long shadow on the courtyard itself. Eleanor said I wouldn't be able to travel in a few weeks, Clem said. And after the baby is born, I'll be too exhausted to walk this far away. Well, I'm glad you guys came, Violet said, an uncharacteristic smile on her face. As they walked into the dorm rooms, they bumped into Minnie. Her blue eyes lit up at the sight of the couple, and she hugged Lou first. Louis returned the embrace, letting go of Clem's hand. The redhead was wearing Vi's old t-shirt, or sweatshirt, over a white tank top. Her jeans, much like Louis's, were ripped. And this is where I will stop for part 1. Stay tuned for part 2 of Marina Raccoon reads chapter 19 of The Walking Dead Hope.